growing up in Oklahoma, there's, songwriting isn't exactly an option. What's interesting though is I say that, and for anybody that's spent time in Nashville, I was with Hillary Lindsay, who's another big writer in Nashville recently, and she said she has a theory that there are more songwriters in Nashville and artists from Oklahoma than any other state, including Tennessee.
We have two right here, two Oklahomans.
Probably true.
I lived in Oklahoma City and was born in Tulsa, and he's from Oklahoma City. So there's really not a lot to do in Oklahoma. Raise your hand if you vacationed there in the last 2 years. Nobody. You have. It was probably a lake. Anyway, so there wasn't much to do, and I got involved. I was kind of always doing a million different things. Athletics was a big part of my life, and music. My dad was a songwriter, and he wrote gospel for a number of years, and was an ASCAP member. And he would tell me, stories about songwriting. I was obsessed with music from the time I was born, and I was only allowed to listen primarily to gospel growing up, except with the exception of the Beach Boys and Stevie Wonder. So, two good non-gospel things to listen to. So the first song that I remember learning was "I Just Called to Say I Love You" on piano, and I would sing that at like 5 years old. And at 5 years old, my voice was exactly as high as Stevie Wonder. So it was passable. But anyway, flash forward, I had a quiet obsession with music. I was in theater. I was the one guy that, the dude, I forget his name, but the guy in Glee who's the football player, but then also kind of secretly goes to theater. That was me. And Finn, thank you, Finn. So the second I got into theater, and we didn't really have any bands where I was going to school, the theater thing kind of opened my eyes to just being on stage and getting me out of my shell. And when I was singing in choir, kind of like Monica, I was always the choir director would walk around and listen to everyone over their shoulder, and she every single time would pick me out and say, "You need to be doing the leads." And I was like, "I don't want to do the leads." I never wanted to be a solo artist. So when I went to college, I started skipping class to write songs. I discovered that artists didn't write, not all artists, but a lot of artists didn't write their own music around, I think, 15. My dad told me. It was kind of like telling you that Santa Claus isn't real. And, I couldn't believe it. I was like, Boyz II Men didn't write on Bended Knee? What's going on? And that's when I discovered Diane Warren, and I discovered Babyface and became obsessed with their catalog. And from that moment on, any CD I bought, I'd go straight to the songwriters, which a lot of people in here do, I think. Yeah. Not to dispense with artists. Obviously, were it not for Sinatra, it wouldn't matter how good the songs were. So I became enamored with that and started on piano, I played piano since I was a really young kid, started taking that and, taking normal songs and then just kind of putting my own lyrics over them and kind of starting to, figure out, oh, okay, these chords kind of go here and this all kind of makes sense and cycles around, and all of a sudden the theory that I never understood started to come natural. And I liked so many different genres of music that it's ridiculous. In college, I spent my summers in Nashville, and then I moved to Nashville right after college, and was doing demoing all the pop demos for country writers that were trying to get pop cuts. I would charge them $400 and say, I'll do your demos. And I was, much like he said with piano, I was passable. I'm good enough at kind of a number of instruments to get the idea across, but I'm by no means a session player. And then I moved to, so I was doing that in country and doing some CCM demos, and I realized that wasn't really my vein. I end up in New York. I end up on a TV show. I'm giving you like the condensed Cliff Notes version. I end up on a TV show, and I won a record deal when I was 20 on MTV as a singer-songwriter doing an original song. And much like a lot of those, TV shows, some of them pan out, some of them don't. This one didn't. And but Timbaland saw it, and he called someone that knew me and flew me out to New York and signed me to a production deal for a year and a half. And so I went to basically the school of Timbaland, and this is back when he was exploding. So I couldn't have been under a better guy at a better time. This is literally, I remember the day that he finished Cry Me a River and brought me onto his tour bus and said, "Yo, you got to check out the song I just did with Justin. It's crazy." And that's how he talks. He sat there and he sang it a cappella to me and beatboxed, and I mean, seeing him do Missy Elliott, what I'm sounds a bit down yet, whatever that one was. All the greatest Timbaland stuff. I got to watch him do it firsthand and just kind of witness like genius pouring out of this guy, watching him at his peak. Long story short, I moved back to LA for the first time by way of Colorado, and that's when everything really started happening. I finally, all those elements of country and pop and rock and Timbaland, I was like, what am I supposed to do? I knew I wanted to be in a band because all my favorite acts, Oasis, the Beatles, they were all bands. And so I said, I'm gonna start a band. Started a band, played the strip for forever, pitched songs during the day to guys like Ron Fair, and then played shows at night. And I've been signed and dropped a few times, and kind of the sound of what my band of OneRepublic became this amalgamation of everything I had learned up till then. So I was classically trained on piano, and then I worked with a hip-hop producer, and all my favorite music was rock. So if you kind of take all that, put it together, you have my band. And now I'm sitting on a panel talking to you guys, so that's my story. I was in with B.O.B, working on his current single, So Good. And we had this interesting piano riff that was kind of reminiscent of a Grizzly Bear song that I'm obsessed with. And had the beat pulled up and going, and it was one of those moments where I wish it happened every single time that you sit down to write a song. Some songs I'll spend 3 to 4 weeks on to get one song done. Sometimes it's 3 to 4 hours, and that was one of those 3 to 4 hours. He's sitting there, piano starts playing, and the first thing out of my mouth was, hey, baby, where do we go? And it turned into the whole chorus, and it was literally 5 minutes with literally him and I going back and forth line by line. I'd say the first line, and then he would say the second line, and I'd say the third line, like, I can see us on a beach down in Mexico, and it just kept going back and forth. And after like literally 5 or 10 minutes, we looked at each other and just started laughing and like high-fiving each other. and it was one of those just kind of freebies. I think that you said it earlier about it being a marathon and not a race, and I use that quote all the time. My theory was always, when I got asked this question, my parents would say, how long are you going to keep doing this? And I say, well, if I'm the last man standing, then when everyone else has come to LA and ended up leaving because they couldn't take it or whatever, I'll still be standing. I'll still be here. I'll be the one that ends up making it. So if you're an artist, you don't have an option. If you're a creator, a writer, you don't stop being a writer. There isn't, oh, it's Saturday, it's 5 p.m., I'm going to check in and I'm done writing. So you just keep doing it.